your track record's pretty darn good.
The timing was it was right. So it's almost, I would say, I didn't have the benefit of having that discussion, which you have the benefit of considering, because it wasn't something we considered. When we considered it, we said, let's do this. And he says, you can do this. There's no reason why you shouldn't. Go make it happen. And so there was no, well, would we have done this? Would we not? No, my story is I wish I would have. But if I would have, we don't know how it would have turned out. So we're here today, and I accept the journey that I was on, the path that I was on, and I'm living my best life today.
The following is a conversation with Natasha Falconi, who's the founder and CEO of Falconi Capital. Falconi Capital focuses on value-add multifamily properties. Her journey is to revitalize neighborhoods by improving underperforming assets. Her drive and ambition at 14 was out of necessity to help her family. Now, that same drive and ambition is creating and building wealth for her family and passive income for others. This is the David Maggard podcast. To support, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Now I present to you Natasha Falconi. Natasha, thank you for coming in, sitting down with me.
Of course.
You are right now doing what I want to do in the future. I'm so impressed, and I tell you that being able to create something and the ability to make money for other people, that I think that's such a skill. Did you ever think that you would be in that position or wanted to, or is this just kind of like a evolution of your career?
That's a great question. I would say it's an evolution of my career, because I had no idea that I would be doing this for myself, for my family, and also for others. But it has been the most fabulous decision that I've ever made.
Did it all come from working at I think it was, what's his name, Tobin Properties?
You know, it came, I think it was
Because they're not a syndicator, right?
No,
Right.
it was, I built up to it. And it wasn't, I started as a CPA at one of the firms. Then I went to work for the developer, shopping center owner. And I was always an entrepreneur working for someone else. And I didn't even realize that that was the case. Because is
this in hindsight now that you call yourself an entrepreneur? Or
I was always...
Did you feel it while your career was taking place?
I've always felt it, but that's not what I called it. I was always a protector of other things. I always ran... In my career, everything I did was as if I owned the businesses. And so it was just my mindset. So the entrepreneurial aspect was there. I just wasn't doing it for myself. And now I am.
No, I love it. It's so cool that, like I said, that the ability to have a product and then make money for other people. I just like that. Like you're obviously you're making money for yourself, but it's being able to, I think, make money for other people and bring them along that journey. I think it's a cool skill.
This is a way to create generational wealth with real estate, and the fact that you don't have to be active to be a part of it. And a lot of people don't know that you can be a passive investor and still benefit from the same returns, the same benefits of owning real estate.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole difference of sponsor or syndicator or LP, whatever you want to call yourself, is that you're doing the work. And that's why you're getting the fees for the acquisition, the asset management, the disposition. That's why you're collecting those fees. The passive, the limited partner, they're not getting those fees because they're not doing that work. They're literally supposedly doing their due diligence, for whatever they're going to invest in, but they're not going out and having to find the asset, having to property manage the asset, and then figure out what's the good time to refinance or sell or exit and who's going to buy it, and
Exactly.
all those little nuances that comes with your job. They don't have to do that. It's passive, right?
That's
So
exactly right.
it's I don't know. I just think it's a great skill set. So let's unwind that then. So where are you from? Where were you born?
Well, I was born in Queens, New York, but I was there for a very small amount of time and then came to Miami. So I'm a local. Local. And so, because I've been here almost all of my life and grew up here and
what were
I
your
love
parents?
the city.
The descent of where were your?
Oh, we're a Cuban. My
Okay.
parents are Cuban. And yeah, I've lived here all of my life and went to school here. And
You grew up in South, like where in Coral Gables and West?
I grew up
Dade or
in Miami, the Miami Westchester area, and then
Okay.
I lived in Hialeah,
Mhm.
and that's where I went to school. That's where I went to high school.
Oh, so you really know Hialeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh, so it's got more than you just like the sub-market. You're from there. That's
I
your
understand.
stomping grounds.
Right, I understand. I understand the market
Yeah.
very very well. And
As a
because of that,
user.
yeah, as a user, because I grew up
Yeah.
there. So absolutely. And so did that, and then then I lived in Kendall, and then I live by the University of Miami in Coral Gables now.
Did you enjoy going to high school in Miami?
I worked since I was 14 years old. So
What does that mean?
that I had a job. So I had a job. I was in high school. I had the work study program where you would do your classes condensed so you can go to work afterwards. And so I've worked. So when you say, did you enjoy high school? I didn't enjoy it in that fashion. I wanted to work.
Where did that come
and
from?
I wanted to, scarcity, being poor, not, I still want to work. So it's in my
Yeah.
blood.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So in the beginning it
Yeah.
was survival. Now
Yeah.
now you're looking at generational wealth.
Now that's a great way to put it.
It's a big
Survival
difference.
to generational wealth.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So worked. I worked through college as well. I would work a full-time job. I would go to college at night. Then that's when I studied accounting and became an accountant, became a CPA.
Hold on though.
Yeah.
You're going too fast.
Okay.
During high school, who
Mhm.
impacted you? Who was guiding you? Was there a guide? Were you close to your mom, your dad? Were they together? Or, was there a teacher? Who influenced you at that time?
I don't even know how to answer that question. I think my influence was myself, like internal, like the drive that
Siblings
I had.
then? You had siblings?
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
So that's
You're cutting the path.
yeah, it was all. Have you seen that? I want to thank I think it was Snoop Dogg. I want to thank me.
Myself. Yeah. Yeah. He just referenced
I
Snoop
want to
Dogg. That's
thank
hilarious.
myself. I love
Yeah.
that guy.
Yeah.
Talk about an entrepreneur. So so
You were out there.
yeah.
So that's funny. No one impacted. So who told you to go to school, or did you just?
Not me.
That was
That's
your
how you
path?
made money.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, you made money. You went to school.
Mm-hmm.
So you went to school. You got a degree, and my options were
Did your parents go to college?
my parents started college,
Okay.
but that wasn't a
Driver.
driver.
Mhm.
So I went to school. What I knew was that you were either a doctor, an engineer, an accountant, or a lawyer.
Okay.
In my world, there weren't other things you did to make money. So I took an accounting class in college,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, man, this is easy.
Mm-hmm.
This is so easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know it was supposed to be hard. It just came easy to me. And I started.
Why did it come easy?
I
Assets,
don't even know.
liabilities. You understood.
I can't
the
even
charts,
answer
accounts.
that. I mean, it was accounting 101. I can't even answer why, but it was one of those things. It's like, it just came easy to me. And so I did that. And that's when I said, oh, I'm going to do this. Accountants do great.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I studied accounting, finished accounting, and went to work for one of the firms.
But were you already in? This is at FIU, I assume, right? Or Barry?
I went to Barry and then FIU.
Okay, so at Barry, you were an undergraduate as business,
Yeah,
or
of an accounting business major.
but when you took the accounting class, were you already an accountant major? Like, were you already on paper saying I want to take accounting? Because you said
No,
I
I
took
was.
the accounting class and
Gosh, you're asking me.
discovered.
I think I was not. I didn't.
Uh-huh.
I think in those days you studied business and then you concentrated in something.
Okay.
But I took a class. I can't even answer that. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I had to take it. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But that's how I chose the path.
I mean, I took hospitality as my undergrad, and then I took accounting as well for hospitality accounting. And I thought to myself too, I'm like, oh, I like accounting. And then I took the finance class, which is more like the P&L, and it was way like how money flowed.
Flowed, yeah.
And I really liked that. Where a lot of other students were like, I don't know about this stuff. But I was on the same boat, but I almost changed my major to accounting, because they say that the accounting degree is like the best business degree. Like, a business degree is too broad, too general. If you get an accounting degree, it's a real good basis for any business, to be in any business. I guess because you learn taxes probably.
Because you learn a lot about how to run how the business operates. So I agree with that.
So what about in college? Like, how were your college years? Who impacted you there? Like, were you still running at your own tune, or like, what was this motivation in your head? Were you living at home, or you were living on campus, or?
No, I was living at home, but I was working during the day and going to school at night, and working during the day and going to school at night, and
Super driven.
There was no time for anything else.
What job did you have?
I worked at a like a tile company for a Spanish company for many years. I worked.
Was that in Hialeah?
It was like the Doral area.
Okay.
I worked at a small accounting firm. So I had.
Oh, so you did work at an accounting firm?
I worked at a few different places. About 3 years here, 4 years there.
Trying to figure out. I mean, so was it all? Were you always like kind of working like a cashier kind of? I guess that's the age.
No, I never worked at a department store or a grocery store.
No, I mean the tile store. What do you? You're not.
Oh no, I was in the accounting department.
Oh really?
Yeah, doing receivables or payables.
Oh, so it was always like bookkeeping and stuff like that.
Yeah,
not when you were 14. What did you do when you were 14?
Office work. Office work. I was filing. I worked for a travel agency delivering the tickets in downtown Miami. Because back then you delivered paper tickets. You had to take them to the actual, the travel agent would print them and you would take them to the actual offices. So it was always some type of office work, filing, sending faxes, bringing coffee, whatever needed to be done.
So no big impact, you didn't see.
You keep asking me that and I'm like,
I'm always intrigued, like what triggers someone, or like, did you see someone speak at Barry or FIU?
No.
Nothing.
Speak. I was going to school from 6 to 10. I wasn't there to see. I couldn't see anybody speak. No.
Okay, so then you run right through college.
I run right through
your
college.
Head down. I'm gonna do this
work
my
and
way.
Study. Yeah.
And you graduate. Were you thinking CPA?
Yeah, at that point for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as an accountant major, this is what I heard. I don't. Maybe you can verify this or whatever. Do you go to I heard you go to grad school, and grad school helps you take your CPA.
You need a 5th year. I think the rules have changed now, but you needed a fifth year to take the exam, and then you take the exam.
So most people use the 5th year as grad school?
Yeah.
Oh, did you go to grad school?
Yeah.
And then you came out and you got your CPA?
Yeah, got my CPA.
Were you already working for a big national firm?
Yeah, I was working for a firm, and then here's a story. You want a good story? Here's a good story. So I'm working for the firm, and someone that I respect very much sits right by me. She was a retired person that she was an accountant. She retired. She came back because they had her come back to do some consulting work. And I was helping a company hire for the controller job. She turns around and she looks at me and she goes, "Why aren't you applying for that job?" And I'm like, "I should apply for that job?" She goes, "Yeah, you're not an accountant in the loving way, meaning I'm not sitting there doing tax returns. You should be in business." And I'm like, "Really? Yeah, okay." So I applied for the job, and I got the job. And I started as the controller of the company, and by the time I left, I was the president of the organization. So she was right.
Wait, this was where?
At
Tobin.
At Tobin, yeah.
Ah, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So you came in there as
the controller.
as a controller.
Yeah.
Wait, so I'm missing something. She worked at Tobin.
No. She sat by me at the accounting firm. I was
gotcha.
helping them hire somebody.
Got you.
Yeah.
For that company.
Yeah.
And she said, "Why don't you go for it?"
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's someone that impacted you.
That's why I'm saying
you that
she
little
impacted.
push.
She did. And because of that, there's, my trajectory completely changed.
That's awesome. See,
Mhm.
there
I
always
got you a
is that
story.
little. There is. It's always. It's beautiful too.
Yeah.
Some people don't realize it because you could have said no. Oh, I'm not ready. A million excuses.
Of course.
Right? No, that's not me.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know anything about real estate. Why would I do that? I'm comfortable here.
Yeah.
Right? A million excuses. No, it's great. Did you so, I mean, I don't know. Thinking about you now, you're driven, head down. Here's an opportunity. Obviously, it probably paid more than your position that you were in.
At that, yes, I paid more.
But you were at the accounting firm for years, no?
Almost 5, I think, almost 5 years.
Which is a good amount of time.
It was a
before you
great
leave.
experience.
Yeah,
It was a great experience.
5 years. So go to school for 5 years, get your CPA,
Mm-hmm.
and in that industry for 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're
Mm-hmm.
sidelining to the real estate. What did you learn at Tobin? I mean, you came in as the controller, left as the president. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. What did I learned so many things. It's important to do what you say. What you do, what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to manage a portfolio that was, all over the Southeast. I was able to provide hiring great people.
And I guess we should define like
And-
what Tobin Properties. This is a family-owned company.
It's their owner developers of shopping centers and multifamily.
Weren't they? I hope this is the right Tobin. It was founded in like 1929 or something like that. Is that the same
It
one?
was a long time ago. Yeah, probably around that time. I don't know the exact date, but they're like on the 3rd or 4th generation, I believe.
And they took you in as family as you worked up the ladder.
I was an employee of the company,
Uh-huh.
and I did a good job. So
And how long were you there for?
like 18 years,
18
17,
years.
17,
Whole
18
career.
years.
That's a
Yeah.
career. I mean, that's family. How long were you a controller for?
I'm not sure, but probably half,
Oh yeah.
maybe. Controller,
9 years as a-
CFO, and then president. So I might be off on the timing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
Controller, CFO,
Yeah.
and they say most a good CEO, a good CFO can make a good CEO, a president.
I believe that
Yeah, because you know how to
because you
operate.
know how to run a business.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and if you have the people skills,
Exactly.
then it goes hand in hand. And
Exactly.
so, did someone have to pass away or something when you got the?
I don't know. Like, no, nobody passed away. It was
I know,
I
I-
did a good job.
Yeah,
I did a good job, and it was after a certain amount of time. It was time for me to move on to doing what I'm doing today.
yeah. I mean, 18 years.
Yeah.
that's a great career. And,
Exactly.
what was your most impactful event within that company that you think that took place under your reign while you were in control?
Most impactful.
That you're
did a
most
lot of
proud
great-
of.
That all the great people that we hired. I'm really proud of that they got to grow and learn and be a part of the organization. I was very proud of that. And there's a long list of many things that happened over the years that I benefited, meaning that I learned and was able to be a part of.
Anything that you regret during that reign of
Oh, yeah, that I didn't take the leap
faster?
to build something for my family sooner.
Oh, so that you didn't leave
Yeah.
there sooner.
Yeah, because going from being an employee to being an entrepreneur is is a scary thing, but it's interesting because it's a scary thing, but it's not something that I even considered as an option until having many conversations with my husband and us figuring out what was next and realizing that it was time. So I would have, if I would have known better, I would have done it sooner.
Well, let's say you were or you were CFO in the accounting, on that side of the business for 9 years. Do you think you would have been still ready to go entrepreneur by then?
I don't
Like,
I don't know.
Your skill set, do you think you like redefine or refined your skill set as you the next 9 years?
I think time always refines your skill
Yeah.
set. So there's no question about that. So there's no, I think in any career, the longer you do things and tasks and you get better at it. So that would be true whether there or somewhere else, if you have the right drive and initiative, and I think so.
So how long from leaving there? Well, what is chairwoman of a bank?
The chair, like a
I
chair.
don't know what that means.
You know what a chairman of a bank is? Like the
No,
person,
I don't.
the person that chairs the board of directors.
Okay.
So
So
that's
you are a chairwoman of the bank.
of a bank, yeah.
How does that come?
Relationships. I had a very close friend that knew that they were looking for individuals, and I interviewed with them, and then they brought me on to help them.
Is that a paying gig, or is that more of a consulting gig,
No,
or
it's when you're on a board of a bank, it's a paying gig.
What did you learn from that?
Oh, that was incredible, because now, today, when I'm looking at financing any of the properties, I understand what's happening on both sides of the table. I understand how banks look at the different opportunities, and I understand where they're what's the word I'm looking for, like where their
Strength
their
and
barriers
weaknesses
are,
yeah.
to different things, and where there's room, and it's just a whole different way of doing business. I learned a lot there.
Were you there during the financial crisis? Or were you there, when did you chair the bank?
I was there from right after all of the financial crisis. I'm guessing 09 to maybe 15 or 16. It was about 6 or 7 years.
Okay. So a lot of lending going on during this time. Those were like good times when people look back now.
Lending and workout of loans,
Sure.
and
Makes sense.
so there was a lot going on.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's what they said. It's going to come the next 12 months. Maybe a lot of workouts.
You think that's going to happen?
I don't know. We were on a conference call today and talking about how the 10-year Treasury peaked in October. It's trending downward now, but that's only been 2 months, so it could spike back up. No one knows, right?
We don't know.
Right. So, but I don't know. Hopefully it keeps trending down. Hopefully they get a grip with inflation. And the Fed said they're not going to go so aggressive with, I don't think it's going to be another 75 basis points the next hike, probably like 50, but it's still, we'll see. Something's going to happen next year. 2023 is going to be an interesting year.
Yeah, it is. I agree. We don't know. The way I see it in reference to real estate is that it's never a good time to buy, and it's always a good time to buy. Just have to figure out what makes sense in what you're looking at. So you're buying a property, right, and the interest rate is higher, you get in, because you can always refinance.
Well, it's funny you say that, because today, while the repair guy was fixing our washer, we were having this conversation. He was saying that he's been looking for a house to buy the last 12 months. And I said kind of what you just said. It's like in January, capital was cheap, but the demand of the buyer's pool was larger. So everyone was competing, and he even spoke of having to offer $50,000, $60,000 above offering, and then there were still another 12 buyers, cash buyers, willing to pay more than that. And then I said to him as well as like, I said, okay, now take today where there's less buyers. Now capital is more expensive, but you might be able to find your dream home. And then if you're able to pay that payment, if you're willing to pay more today, that in 2-3 years you could refinance out and be in your house with a lower payment, So it's how you look at it, right? What lens are you looking at it through? And are you able to kind of like go through the stormy weather to get through the,
Well, that's the key, not over leveraging.
Mm-hmm.
So and buying a home is one thing. Buying commercial real estate is from that perspective, I think the same. Not over leveraging, because then you can weather many storms and all different kinds of storms, as long as you underwrite it properly and you don't over leverage the asset.
Yeah, you can go through the ebbs and flows
for sure
with it if you're, I mean, I don't think that banks will let you over leverage today. I mean, I think more the LTVs are around 65 to 60 to 65%, if that high. I was listening to something yesterday as well, as where they were saying that cap rates and interest rates have never been. There's such a delta in between them. It's in the times that we've had in the past, whatever. It's just unprecedented where the cap rates are and the interest rates are. And so, do you buy at that cap rate with the negative leverage, and then have to, hopefully. The lights just went out. Hopefully, you can do something like we are doing with your ad, value add, and so that negative leverage, you're gonna have negative leverage anyways because of your first 12 months is when you're gonna renovate and try to increase the rents. So I mean, and they were seeing that everybody's underwriting to the debt coverage ratio now, and the debt coverage ratio is banks are looking at more like, if the bank is lending, but more like 1.35 to 1.5. So that's some underwriting inside baseball stuff that I was listening to yesterday. Just no one's really looking at loan to value. It's more debt coverage ratio, much higher debt coverage ratio.
Yeah.
Much more equity down in the beginning. I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, I agree with you. I think that debt service coverage ratio is definitely one of the main things that are looked like, because if something goes wrong, how are you going to, no matter what the loan to value is, if something goes wrong, how are you going to pay your mortgage? So I do believe that but I do believe that the banks are being more conservative, but I also believe that there are a lot of loans out there with values that were much higher than they're going to be when the loans are up now in the next, whatever's coming up in the next couple of years.
Whatever's maturing. Yeah, that's a good. I mean, they would have had to buy it 5 years ago if they had right? If it's coming 5-7 years ago, and that would put us in 5 years ago is 2017.
And all these loans that were interest only, there's a lot of loans out there that are interest only. And if they weren't able to actually give the asset the increase in the value and the cash flow that was required to have to cover debt service, I think we're going to be seeing some of those.
But I think a lot of assets got a good push with this robust rent growth that we had here in Miami.
Oh, I agree with that.
In South Florida too. So I think that their NOI should be pretty high.
Hopefully.
When they mature.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have had to really been a slumlord if you have a property that the rents didn't increase or it was just a complete mess. The thing is that we're seeing in office though now, we saw it in this building right here, is that tenants giving back space now. So that's a red flag. Big tenants, MasterCard or blockchain.com, or that's just a name too. But, when we see that, well, those people are going to not have a job. And that's going to
impact
unemployment rate.
Exactly.
Or just our community, those that are laid off. And and I wonder also, like, let's say you bought a nice house and you have double income. One person gets laid off, and maybe you can't afford that house anymore. Does that house go back on the market, and are any of those loans assumable? Because you would have a nice low interest rates on this.
That would be interesting to see.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you guys, most mortgages though for residential or single family, they're not assumable, correct?
I can't speak to residential.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm guessing not, because I got to underwrite the person, not the asset.
Yeah. Just wondering, because they're got to be at all-time high or all-time low interest rates, whatever. So you were inspired later, 18 years later, to be an entrepreneur. But why did you go into syndication, or why did you did you ever think about flipping houses, or what was your first deal out of,
So I owned a few condos,
mm-hmm.
and like the one I lived in before I was married, I still own it. And that's where I started, and I didn't realize that that's what I was doing, managing real estate.
Oh, okay.
And just because
Like a small portfolio.
A small portfolio of a few condos. And I never saw flipping houses as something that I would do, because you've got to eat and kill. There's no generation. It's a job.
Mm-hmm.
So what I thought instead is, what could I do that was something that would be fulfilling to me, but yet that would have both the cash flow and the equity growth, because that's where you create the generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I decided on multifamily. So one of the things that I really enjoyed when I had my condos is fixing it, painting it, and having the tenants move in and be so happy that they were there. And I didn't realize that until I started trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do. So when I started looking at assets, I would look at a shopping center and like, well, yeah, this is a good deal, but it's not for me.
But why?
It didn't feel it. And it's totally like what you enjoy. I don't want to go talking to tenants about, do they want to move into my shopping? It's not
like Beth looks at a shopping center and
exactly what Beth does in that space is how I feel in multifamily. She could do that all day long. No, to me that would be torture. So it's the opposite. For me, there's nothing greater than being able to put a tenant in one of our properties and then them not leave because we're giving them such great service. And when they do leave, it's usually because they're either upgrading to another property because their financial situation is better, or even better, which makes me super happy, they're going to go buy a home. And so I realized that that's really what I enjoy. And that's how I started then, hyper-focusing on multifamily. And the first property I bought was on Miami Beach.
Walk me through it.
So it's an 8-unit property in the North Beach area of Miami Beach, which is 70-something. And I found that property just because I was letting everybody know what I wanted to do, and I was at a conference, and a broker mentioned, I have this opportunity. I went and I saw it, and I put it under contract.
And it was being marketed. It was on
it was being marketed, but it was new to the market, and it was great.
When was this?
2020. So I started my company in 2019.
Okay.
And this was in 2020.
Okay. So had COVID come yet, or no?
We were in COVID-ish. So COVID was happening.
So 2019, you're like, I'm going to start this company, Falconi Capital, and I'm going to invest in multifamily. And I'm going to run the deal, and I'm going to syndicate. Were you at first going to syndicate?
No,
or were you gonna
that one I bought on my own. And I wasn't...
No partners at all?
No partners. So
Solo.
A
lot of risk.
A lot, yeah. no risk, no reward.
Yeah.
So a lot of risk, but I was willing to put it out there because I knew that it was something that
But did you
I
do
could
it
turn
by
around.
yourself because you wanted to make whatever mistakes you were going to make up front and it was your own money? Was that ever in your head?
No, that
No?
wasn't in my head. That wasn't in my head. It wasn't. It was because the opportunity was there and I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't. It was actually I wasn't thinking at that time about syndicating.
Mm-hmm.
I was figuring out how I could do this on my own, not thinking syndication was an option.
So did you just go the conventional way? You underwrote the deal yourself?
Yeah, I underwrote the deal myself.
Well, so 8 units at how much per unit?
8 units.
You remember.
It was about 150 a unit.
Okay.
They're selling now for 230, 240.
Mm-hmm.
And so now what we're talking about. We've got the appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
That's there. I'm a long-term holder, so I'm not selling, but the appreciation is there. And the cash flow is there.
So you buy at 150
well.
per unit.
Mm-hmm.
It was already. Did it need any? You went and looked at it. Did it need any renovations?
It was in decent shape, but
Mhm.
I typically one of the things that I do with the properties is I do windows and doors, change them to windstorm
Mm-hmm.
or for the hurricanes right away. There's two schools of thought on that. It is a big expense, but there's something to be said about the safety of the tenants that are there.
Mm-hmm.
And as a landlord, not having to worry about finding whatever it is you need to find to cover these windows and be competing with everyone else in that regard. I feel that it's nice and safe and easy to deal with, and it brings value to the property. One, they look much nicer.
Yeah.
And two, it just increases the value of
Absolutely.
the property.
I agree.
So that's what we did.
Did you buy that on a per unit, or because I mean North Miami Beach 8 units, the cap rate what they were offering was probably super low.
When you say per unit,
Well, you can either say, "Oh, I'm going to buy this because 150,000 looks good," or because if they go, "Oh, this is a 3," because 2019, 2020, Miami Beach, North Beach, they could be hitting you with, "Oh, this is a 3.5 cap rate because the rents are all too low, and you got this potential to increase the rents, and this is going to be a 5.5 cap rate," which now it sounds.
It depends.
You know?
So it depends. So when I look at properties, and that's a question I get a lot. Well, wow, that's expensive. I said, well, maybe.
Mhm.
What does it look like when you do the underwriting? Because maybe it was poorly managed. So the question is, if it's poorly managed, and either because you have experience, or because you really know the market well, because you know what's happening around the building that you're at, and you know that within 90 days you can start increasing rents, then you have to decide for yourself what risk are you willing to take. If the owner's not going to come down on price based on the rents that he's charging, where are you going to be? Sometimes there are landlords that are charging very, very low rents because they have no mortgages, and so they set it and forget it, and they're cash flowing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've got to look at your numbers, and you've got to decide the risk that you're willing to take, and you need to decide if you can actually make that happen. Can you make whatever your pro forma looks like happen? So then maybe you're buying at a 3 or a 4 or whatever that is, but then you turn it into a 7 at the end of 12 months. That was a good, nice situation.
Is that what you did?
Yeah.
That's
how I underwrite.
Uh-huh.
That's how I underwrite. To a 6. I underwrite to a 6, but always, so far, we've been there or better.
Did you have to do anything to the units to increase the rents in 2020?
No.
And it was COVID, like, did you have any, like, delinquencies, or
No.
did you find any, nothing?
No delinquencies.
Really?
No delinquencies.
Sometimes in that Miami Beach is kind of like a lot of the tenants are in the service industry.
Mhm.
And a lot of those jobs, a lot of people lost those jobs during COVID and the lockdown. But you guys are
No.
okay?
No issues with the tenants in that building.
Everyone paid?
Everyone
No
paid.
evictions or anything?
Nope.
Wow, sounds like you got lucky.
Maybe, or good communication with the tenants too.
Did you immediately, like, what was did you have a game plan or a strategy during that time?
During COVID?
Yeah, did you go and meet every tenant and say, I don't know?
Well, no. all of the tenants know how to communicate with me or my team. So one of the things that I believe very important is because my company is vertically integrated. We do all the property management ourselves. So there's a lot of communication with the tenants all of the time. And if there's a repair that's needed or if there's anything that needs to be improved, we take action pretty quickly, or we have a conversation as to timing or whatever it is that needs to be done. So most of the time when we take over an asset, the rents are increased immediately. I would say 60 days. Obviously, we give the appropriate notice, 60 to 90 days in some cases, and the tenants don't move. They don't move.
And do you have kind of I'm gonna raise $100 or I'm gonna raise $50 in 60 to 90 days, or each asset is a different story?
Each asset is a different story. Each asset is a different story. The game plan is different for every asset. Every asset has different needs for capital improvements. So you kind of put all of them together and figure out. Then you decide what the game plan is.
What did you learn the most at the first one you bought with the 8-unit one? What did you learn? What was the big takeaway from that one?
The big takeaway from that one was that I could have been a little more aggressive on the increase of rents, and I wasn't.
You mean sooner?
Sooner.
Because, you still own it, so you could...
Sooner.
Increase the rents.
I mean, what I owned, like in the beginning,
it
sooner, but I was afraid to lose the tenants.
It's occupancy.
And that's one of the things that you mentioned. What I would do, what I did then that I wouldn't do now. Now I would take the risk because I knew the market could bear that there's no vacancy, or I should say the vacancy is so minimal that, and so I would take a greater risk in that area now.
And you just got regular financing then, conventional financing, or did you buy it all in cash, or?
No, financing.
What was your interest rate back then, or what do you have at interest rate on that asset?
3 something. 3, 4 something.
For
3.4
in 8. And when does that mature?
That matures, so it's a 10-year loan. So 2020 to 2030?
2030. And the community bank, or was that Freddie Mac?
It was Freddie. Yeah, it was a Freddie loan.
Nice. So agency loan, 10 years, low interest on North Miami Beach.
North Beach.
North
it's different
Beach?
than North Miami Beach. The North Beach area is in Miami Beach. Okay. It's not North Miami Beach.
Is it on the beach?
It's 3 blocks from the beach.
So we're talking about 70th Street, 79th Street, that area?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where my son lives. Well, half the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you got 8 units.
Okay.
Today you're purchasing 30. Did you keep increasing in between the 8 and the 30, or did you throw in a duplex? I don't know. Did you
keep increasing? We're going to be at 91 when we close this next property.
But I mean, like, units per property.
Oh, no. So you see the markets that so we have that Miami Beach asset, and then I invested in an asset in Hialeah.
Is not in your 2 submarkets that you told me about.
It's not, but it was the first one. So
Would you buy another one in that submarket?
Probably not right now because of insurance.
Okay. Good point. Oh, sorry.
It's a great location, but I'm definitely more interested in
Did
Little
your insurance
Havana and
double
Hialeah.
in that area?
It hasn't doubled, but it's significant.
Yeah.
Significant. So the next asset was in Hialeah. And then the next asset after that was in Little Havana. So you ask me, did you start increasing? So you go from 8, which you hear 8 to 20 to 40 to 100. The markets that I'm investing in, it's difficult to find the larger properties. So you could find an 8 or a 6 or a 20 or a 15 or what have you. And so at first I exactly did that. I'm like, okay, 8, next we're going to 20, then we're going to 40. And then I was setting myself up not to find any assets because of the markets that I was interested in investing in.
How long did you look before you pulled the trigger for the second one?
Let me see. It was probably 6 or 8 months.
Okay.
6 or 8 months before the next one I mean, before I looked at a lot of deals and made offers on many opportunities, but took about 6 to 8 months. And that one was in Hialeah, or is in Hialeah.
How many units was that?
That's 16 units.
Okay. So you did double.
Not on purpose. It just ended up that way. And then that's when we go. Then the next one was 8. Then the next one was 18.
Gotcha.
Then the next one was 6, and then the next one's 30. So it's more about location and proximity to the assets that we have.
Helps you with your property management.
And it helps with the property management. And I like those areas. I believe in those areas that we invest in.
Do you think there's going to come a time where you're like, maybe I should look in other areas?
I don't know.
No?
I mean, I don't want to say no, but I don't know. Yeah. I mean, there's so much opportunity where I'm investing right now that I believe that I'm good, and I like that I'm making an impact in these communities.
Yeah, you like that, right?
I love that. I love that.
Nice. A reason to.
Yeah.
Not only for the tenant, but for the community as well. Right? Yeah, that's what I thought when you were talking about like the impact windows and the roofs. It does add value. I mean, it's like a instant ROI. I mean, if we're appraising something and it's got new impact windows and roof, it's definitely a plus for sure.
Yeah, it adds value. And then think about what it does for your tenant.
Oh, yeah, safety.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, like when you say like the beach, and we're just coming out of hurricane season now. Do you worry about your tenants or in these properties?
Of course. Of course. But I know as far as the asset is concerned, we've done the best that we can to secure it as we would our homes, impact. The roof is secure, impact. Now, obviously, you need to do what you need to do from a management perspective to secure the property, but that's just part of the management.
So when did syndication come into your head? Like, 'cause you're the first one, you didn't even think about syndication.
Second one, I didn't either. And then
also the 16 units,
didn't either.
You got that by yourself?
Yes.
Still no partners?
No partners.
Wow.
And then said, okay, now what? We're going to run out of money.
Right. Like anyone does, right?
Right.
You could be anyone.
You could be absolutely. No, and it's true. And then I was spending a lot of time speaking to other people about real estate investing and opportunities, and not for any reason, but just to have conversations about it. And I realized, let me talk to a few of my friends and see what they think. And
how does that conversation go? The early days.
The early days?
When you're just kind of playing with it in your head. Like, I'm sure you probably spoke to your husband about it. And you're like, I'm going to ask so-and-so. Did you guys talk about it like that?
Well, I mean, my husband was involved in all of it as my
But did you bounce it off
consultant,
him? Like, did you say, I'm going to go talk to these other people about and kind of see the feeling that they get?
No, it wasn't like that. It was like, I'm going to go call our friends, I'm going to go call our friends, Sally and what have you, and let them know what we're doing. I mean, most of them knew what I was doing, but asked them if they were interested. And there's no...
What kind of return were you getting off of the first two? Because that kind of set you up for that conversation. You can say, hey, I bought this 8, I bought this 16 now.
Right.
I'm getting this kind of cash on cash.
Right. Well, the first one, the cash on cash, is in the 7 to 8 range. The appreciation is just going to sit there for 10 years because I'm not going to touch that. But it is appreciating. And the second property that it was 2021. So we're running one full year now, and we're starting to see, next year we're probably going to be in the 8s to 9s because of the rental increases and the efficiencies that we've done on the expenditures. So those are the conversations. And a lot of trust, because more than the asset, you need to believe in the sponsor. And I've been very lucky that people that I've talked to.
On that note, I wrote this down actually. What should a potential investor ask a sponsor? So when you're asking them and trying to weed out which potential friend, that would like to invest, or, you're not going to ask every friend because it has to be a friend that has a certain amount of money to invest, right?
Of course.
And they have to be willing to probably lose that money, like any investment. So what should they be asking you to vet you out?
I believe.
Did you think about that? Like, what can they ask me? So you would have like an answer for them, or
No, I didn't think about it that way.
Okay.
I would just answer the question. But I do have questions that I think should be answered that maybe I wasn't asked those questions because I already had offered it and they knew what I was doing.
You were ahead of it.
But not on purpose, just from being. You should always ask if the sponsor has investing in the deal as well, because there are many
Skin in the game.
Skin in the game. There are many sponsors that find the deals and put the deals together, but they don't have skin in the game. And I believe that every sponsor should have skin in the game.
Is there a percentage that they should have?
No, because I wouldn't say percentage, because I think it depends on the deal, but I do believe they should have something at risk. So I think that's a question that should always be asked.
So it's an incentive to them as well for the property to produce.
We're all aligned.
Yeah.
Everybody's aligned if everybody's winning together and losing together.
They're not just calculating the fees.
They're the fees or the preferred or whatever it is. Absolutely. So that's one thing. I think the other thing that I would also is a track record and history. Like what has the person done before? What type of experience do they have? What do they know as far as the market is concerned, or what their experience is? And I think that's important to know. And what kind of person the person is. Who do they know? Who recommends them? Because when things are great, everything's fabulous. But when things are not, who is the person that's going to be handling your investment? And I think that's what you really want to focus on.
Yeah, I think that's what I think 2023 is kind of going to show those characters, right? A lot of people are out there raising money and
with no skin in the game.
No skin in the game, or there was a lot of capital, cheap capital. Now it's different, right? It's shifting to see, and you actually see syndicators out there talking about like the Fed's got to decrease these interest rates. It's not helping in this and that. It's a different perspective.
Yeah, because what does your note look like, and how are you exactly?
Yeah.
What is and that's going to be a big part of what we're going to see coming up. I don't know what it's going to look like, but however you set up your structure, your financing structure, those that either didn't have the right experience or didn't have enough experience and went out and wanted to get into the real estate game, that's what we're going to see, I think, in the next few years.
Are you, I don't think scared is the right word, but are you cautious, hesitant of 2023 on syndicating or raising capital?
No.
You said no fast. That's awesome. But why are you so confident? Where does that come from? Or what's your strategy that you have set that you think that you can weather the storm easily?
I think the asset class that I have chosen to invest in weathers any storm.
Okay, so we got multifamily. You're gonna say the submarket.
B and C, we already said the submarket,
Right.
So it's B and C asset class. If you're living in a studio and you're doing better, you're going to come live in our units. And if you're living on Brickell and you can't afford to live there anymore, you're going to come move into our units. So
even though if debt's 6%, you can still
absolutely
make it work.
You can make it work. I mean, you have to buy. There's a lot of elements.
Sure.
You have to buy.
Well, let's play it out, because this is kind of how it's going to be like next year, right? No one really knows, and let's say that debt stays at 6%, 5.5%, 6%, right? And you're in multifamily, so South Florida, Miami in general was already hit with the robust growth, so you're not going to get that huge spike. Especially not, I don't believe, if we're going into a pseudo recession, right? Because it comes back to occupancy for your property. You don't want to hit someone with crazy rental increases. I mean, no one's going to get a 20% spike again.
You have to strategize. So, for example, you have a fully occupied property, and let's say your mortgage is coming up. And you're looking at the numbers and you have a trajectory of raising it X amount and you're worried, let's just say then you make some adjustments. But it's not absolute. It's not, oh, it's
But I'm
going to be
talking
6%
about more about buying. I'm talking about more about buying acquisitions.
on
Like
the
in
acquisition
in
side.
2023.
I think
Of
that if
raising the capital, getting the debt, finding, does it make you think of like, oh, maybe I should try to find something? I know you've touched on this earlier, saying like you kind of want to buy in the submarket what's available, but does it make you think like, oh, maybe I should buy something kind of bigger so it helps with the vacancy and the occupancy? If we could still want to raise rents, we can, that frictional vacancy where people move in and out, like, do you think about those kind of aspects?
I love the bigger,
Mhm.
but it's also market driven.
Mhm.
There's not many 30-unit buildings in the
Yeah.
areas that I invest in.
Mhm.
So you look at the asset. So we know what interest rates are rising, and we're let's say we're going to purchase something. Well, you underwrite it properly. You underwrite it at a 7. You don't underwrite it at a 6. You underwrite a higher vacancy. So you put in all these metrics in to make sure that whatever your expectation on returns are, that you can meet them.
Do you think that it'll be a longer like takeoff for the limited partners to receive dispositions?
I think distributions.
Distributions.
I think that
You know what I mean? Like in 2023,
I think every
if
asset
interest
is
rates
different.
are still going to go up, because we know Feds are still going to increase it a couple different times. So that means it's not one for one with
Yeah.
why they increase, but they're probably going to increase some, right? And let's say you find something second quarter, interest rates are high. Maybe it takes longer for the limited partner to receive distributions, or, I don't know. Just thinking it hypothetically.
It depends on the asset.
Yeah.
Because there are assets that are cash flowing year one and you can distribute year one. There are assets that require improvements, and then you're distributing month 6 or month 9. Every asset's different.
Because the submarkets that you're looking at, the cap rates are low,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you have this is kind of like what I was touching on earlier, is that if you have someone trying to sell at a 4.5, a 5 cap rate, and interest rates are at 6, or debt's at 6.5, that's a big.
But
big
what's the
spread.
rent? What is the rent going to be once you take over?
Yeah,
You're buying at a 5.5, but are you turning it into an 8? And then you're financing a 6. So it's not absolute. It's
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to look at it and pass on deals if they end up the way you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you have to look at as many properties, because it doesn't always work. I guess that's probably part of the conversation needs to be, every asset that you look like doesn't always work because of what you're saying. Where's the financing right now? What can the rents be? What are the rents right now? How efficient are they being with their expenses? It all depends on who the seller is. It all depends on.
Are you talking to debt lenders, or have you heard anything recently? Or I know that the deal that we're involved in, it's owner financing.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously that's a great way to go
Mm-hmm.
in times that we're in right now, right? Are you still talking with community banks? Are they still
Oh yeah.
lending on this kind of product? Or
We had a community bank that was going to lend on this before the seller said that he would do the seller financing.
so, have they changed their underwriting any, or have you talked to anyone lately?
I think in general they're
Tightening.
I think they're tightening it, but it also is relationship based in many cases, especially with if you have a track record and you've performed. I think that they're going to look at you a little differently than if you're coming in with an asset.
It's funny that you said that, because it literally says right here in my notes when I was listening to someone saying that financing in today's environment leans heavy on personal relationships.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And because they've seen what you can do. So banks can get creative,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on how much it's all about risk, right? It's all about risk. So I think if there's relationships, that's everything.
Do you think 2023 is going to be more of a creative year?
I think
You're going to have to, everyone's kind of.
I think there's going to be a little bit of everything in 2023. I think there's going to be a lot of keys tossed back to banks. I also believe.
Really? Why?
I think so.
Why is that?
Because I think that many people got into real estate investing that are potentially one-offs, and I think they're going to be affected by.
Because that would be someone bought in 2017, right?
Right.
Kind of highest point in the market.
17,
Or
18.
2012 would be 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
or let's say 2013. That would be a 10-year
Mm-hmm.
loan. So it's like,
Well, if in 2013 it's a 10-year amortized loan, and they should be fine because they've been paying down debt. So there's probably not going to be much cash out, but they should be fine. But a 5-year,
2017.
potentially, there were a lot of interest-only notes out there. I think that there could be some potential opportunities, is the way I look at it, to acquire assets.
Where they're not going to be able to refinance.
Potentially not be able to refinance.
And then they'd have to look for hard money or
a buyer.
Yeah, I wonder if. Yeah, we'll see.
We don't know.
Yeah, it's
Let's have this conversation again in 2 years and
yeah,
revisit what happened.
It's really crazy,
right? And we don't know. It's not going to look like it looked like in 07, 08, 09. It's not going to look like that.
Yeah,
It's not. It's a different environment. We know what's coming. It's different.
Yeah, it's not a debt bubble
Mm-hmm.
like those times. So, what are your goals? Do you make goals? Are you a big goal setter, or
I'm a goal setter.
So do you look at like, do you go real granular? Like, here's my task today, or here's my week, or here's my month, or here's my 12 months, or 3 year, 5 year.
No, I yes to some of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do daily goals. I wish I was more consistent because I think you get a lot done when you do that. So daily goals and what I want to accomplish for the week. On Sundays I do that, but globally for my company, my goal this year was to get to 100 units, 91.
You're at 91.
We'll be at 91 when we close, so I think we'll be pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
I take that as a win.
Sure,
And so my goal is to double that next year.
Double it.
Yep. Why not?
2x.
If I get close, I still win.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's another 90 or 100 units.
Another 100 to 200 units.
So that's a lot of small buys, though, because you're saying, like,
maybe we'll see. I mean, a couple 30s, a 40, a few 10s. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal, but
it's a great goal. I mean, and that's only a 12-month goal.
That's a 12-month goal.
Is there any 5 years or like 10 years?
No.
Or why look that far?
No. I mean, we'll have more assets, but I haven't.
How long do you stay in this game?
I don't see myself out of the game.
Really?
No.
And keep them? And you said you're long-term hold?
Long-term hold. We evaluate. I evaluate the assets.
I mean, you
regularly
still have your first condo,
see,
so I don't see you selling things.
Right. I still have my first condo. But I was talking about selling. I was like, why do we still have that? Like, we should sell it. But we're talking about that. But that's very different.
Maybe not now. You guys missed the good moments.
I don't know. Is that a thing? Like, we missed the top of the market, but it's still good. People are still buying.
Well, less people can afford the number that you would want.
Maybe. They're small, some small 1-bedroom. So I don't know. It's one of those things that I have the option of taking a look at it or not. It doesn't, I've owned it for 30 years now. So I think 5-year goals, I'm not saying you shouldn't set them. I think you should, but I'm so focused on what's happening right now that I think my 5-year goals will change.
How do you, and like you mentioned it a couple times, like you talk to your friends about raising capital. How did you educate yourself on syndication, on creating your business? I mean, obviously you worked in a real estate integrated company, so you understood, and you have the accounting background. I mean, everything that you've done, your career, the accountant, the bank, the real estate company, it's all really gave you a great basis to be your own boss and entrepreneur and have your own syndication. What are you doing to educate yourself now? Do you read? I mean, you told me about a conference that you went to in Austin recently, small conference too. So is there goals in that? Like, how are you going to grow, or your personal growth as a person? Or
yeah, I believe you're always growing and you're always learning.
Some people, not everyone.
That's
though.
me. For
Right,
me, I
sure.
think that, every day you learn something new. There's no way you know everything in real estate.
Mhm.
You can go to a conference that you think that everything that's going to be said, and then you get one nugget. So I believe a lot in education and continuing to learn. So what do? I do listen to a lot of podcasts. I read a lot of books.
What's your
I
favorite
attend-
podcast? Or
I have
who do
so
you listen to?
I have so many. This is like,
Name a
I'm
couple.
really bad at that. I don't know.
Name one.
This one, I've listened to all your podcasts.
Yeah, thanks. That's nice. But let's talk real. Did you listen to like Bigger Pockets, or do you listen to like
I don't
Grant
do a
Cardone?
lot of the bigger
or
pockets. I
someone
listen
that-
to a little of Grant Cardone. I'm trying to visualize the pictures of the podcast. How they do it is a good podcast. There's a gentleman that I wish I remembered his name out of New York. Oh, he's so good. That I've been listening to him. I think his last name's Nelson. But I jump around based on topic. And so podcast.
How do you find the podcast?
I just put either somebody sends it to me, or there's no science behind it.
Okay.
Somebody sends it to me, or I Google
YouTube or
something,
Spotify or something
somebody
like that?
says, or it just pops up based on what I've been listening to
How about this? When do you listen to the podcast?
in the car
In the car while you're driving.
while I'm driving,
So if you're not driving, you're not
or
listening
walking
to
the
the podcast.
dog.
Okay.
Walking the dog, I'm driving.
Mhm.
That's mostly when I'm doing that.
Mhm.
And then in reference to conferences, you asked me about
Mhm.
that. I think conferences serve a few purposes. One is to be able to engage with other people that are doing what you're doing and learn. You always learn best practices or how someone is doing something different
Mhm.
somewhere else.
Mhm.
And you learn from there and then develop relationships to share information. And
So we're both going to the multifamily conference on the
Mhm.
8th.
on Thursday.
8th, right?
Yeah.
Do you set an agenda? Do you look at who's going to be there, who's signed up to target people, or do you just go in there kind of with some business cards and
I probably
mind.
should do that. I should. I haven't. So when I went to Austin, it was a small group, and that was an absolutely fabulous conference or day camp, as they called it, in reference to syndications. And so that one was a little different because they basically, one gentleman's industrial, the other one is in multifamily, and they just talked to us about what they've done. And it was so fabulous as far as being able to understand what someone that has done, that is already ahead on that road than you, and explain the different things that they've gone through. And then the bonus was that you got to meet a bunch of different people that are also
on that
working
journey?
on accomplishing what you're accomplishing. So that's one way.
How much further ahead of their journey, the speakers on the stage, than you are?
Oh, a lot, like
20
hundreds of
years?
millions of dollars worth.
Okay.
Yeah, so plenty.
Under management.
Yeah, plenty.
Hmm.
So it's also very motivating.
Yeah, of course. You mentioned books. Are you a reader or
I'm a reader,
Audible, or you actually read the book?
Audible, and you're going to ask me now which books, and I'm going to tell you, I don't know.
I would just say, like,
I
what
don't
are you
remember.
reading anything now?
Right now, no, I'm actually need a book.
Mhm.
I actually just bought a book, the hardcover book, Multifamily Millions, but I haven't read it yet.
Multifamily Millions.
But I haven't read it, so I don't know
What's
what it's
that
about. I don't know.
You just bought it?
Somebody recommended it, and I said, okay, and I bought it.
Yeah. Multifamily.
I'll send you a picture of it so
millionaires?
you can see it.
Huh. Yeah. What so reading, podcast, conferences. You have goals for your team. You have goals for, do you just set goals for yourself, or what about like mental health, or do you believe in that, or
Absolutely.
do you believe in, like, I don't know, yoga or meditation?
I wish I could
or-
meditate. I want to be a meditator.
What does that mean when people say that? I don't understand.
I can't. Can you?
Yeah.
Can you sit for like 10 minutes or
Yeah.
15 minutes and close your eyes and not think about anything?
It's called go to the sauna for 18 minutes, close your eyes, and
In the sauna, you don't
but,
think
but
about
I mean,
things?
that's I can do it without the sauna, but the sauna is a great place too.
Oof, I wish
You
I
can
could.
do that.
My brain is going so fast that I will close my eyes and don't get me wrong, I try and I go back to it regularly. And I said, okay, we're meditating for 5 minutes. Put the music, whatever the thing on your phone, close your eyes, say, oh, I got to go to here. I got to go there. I got to call this person. I got to call that person. What am I going to do? And I'm like, okay, you're supposed to be meditating.
Yeah.
Natasha, go back to meditating. Are you meditating? Are you meditating? Are you meditating? And then I'm like, I'm not meditating.
That's a lot of people, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, I want to learn. I would love to learn the practice, but I do. You know, I Pilates.
I went to a
and work
therapist on when I was getting divorced, and it was supposed to be like counselor's therapist, but it eventually just was like an individual personal therapist, and she was spiritual. It was very cool. It wasn't a great time to learn that, but it was very helpful going forward. And she said one thing, and this goes, I've heard other spiritual leaders say this too as well. It's like when you're meditating and you're thinking, and you can, you know, sing the song or whatever your chant is, or if you don't have one, but you know, thoughts are like clouds passing by, and you don't want to connect to every thought, right? So the therapist would tell me, like, when you have a thought, put it in the box. Like, have a box and put it in the box. And every thought, put it in the box, until you're empty, right? And then so you're doing this drill, and you're like, what is this? This is weird. But put it in the thought, put it in the box, put it in the box, put it in the box, put it in the box. And you will come to a space, because that's what you're doing. You're looking for that space, that emptiness. And I've had there's someone that I listen to online, and they talk about, like, all right, you can come into the room, but leave all your thoughts prior to entering the room outside. You can get everything when you leave, and then don't have any thoughts going forward, and be in that space.
And you can do that?
Yeah, I can do it.
That's amazing.
I mean, you allow yourself to do it.
Yeah.
Because that's
that's the intent.
That's what you're doing right now. It's like, it would be like going to the gym and looking at the
equipment or whatever,
and going, like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, and then like just being like, I can't do
that's
this.
not gonna happen, right? That's a good analogy.
And leaving.
That's
you
a
know,
good
and
analogy.
you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow you go back to the gym. You're like, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it, and you're watching everybody else do it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, of course. You know, you I don't know. It's beautiful too. But I listened to like a podcast on spirituality and meditation, these things, and then people go to these retreats like in India or Portugal or where have you, and they say like the same thing. They have such trouble getting to that place of just, you know, like the spiritual leader says, like, come into the room, leave everything behind you, and if you can't stop those thoughts, put them in the box. Put them in the box. Put them in the box, and you'll come to that space of nothing before, nothing after, just in that consciousness. And yeah, I've made my son do it, and
that's great.
But I it's not common, but I do run across people exactly what you said. It's like, I can't do it, and I always think, like, what do you mean you can't do it? Like,
but that's fabulous that you can. I mean, I try, but I'm not trying enough. Meaning, because if I think if I practiced, it's like everything, right? If I practiced it enough.
But why do you want to do it? Because maybe you don't need it.
I don't know.
You know?
Why not? I mean, I don't think I want to do it enough since I haven't done it, I guess. But I also think there's something wonderful about just clearing your mind.
Yeah. Do you jog or go for long runs or anything like that?
Yeah, I walk the dog a lot, and
But you think while you walk.
I think or listen. Yeah. I haven't done the just walking with thinking. No, I haven't done that.
Like being present.
But sometimes I do with the dog. Sometimes, I mean, the dog is with me, but
so
I'll walk without a podcast.
Do you worry a lot, or do you get anxiety, or because maybe you don't have this problem. Maybe you're just in a great place, and
I don't want to say I don't worry.
That's great.
I want to make sure I say the wrong things. I say, do I get concerns? Do I wonder, like, oh my God, is this going to actually happen? But I approach it with a positive attitude, and I always believe that if something doesn't turn out, it's because there's a fork in the road that's supposed to take you something else.
Oh, so you're that kind of person then.
So I do believe that. But I also believe that
Everything that happened is supposed to happen.
everything that happens is supposed to happen. I mean, that doesn't mean you let it explode or whatever, but you work through things, and everything doesn't necessarily have to turn out.
Mm-hmm. And it usually doesn't how we think it.
It doesn't happen
know.
how you think it's going to happen. Absolutely.
And
Sometimes
that's the journey.
And most of the time, it's better.
Yeah.
It's better.
I mean, that's the positive twist to it, is that it's better.
At least that's how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I want to feel, and that's how I'd keep it up, because it's not always better, you know? Like, there's definitely things people go through, and that's not how they imagined, and but I'd rather think that, you go through the journey, and it always turns out better.
It's not supposed to be easy.
Right. No, that's a great point as well.
Mm-hmm.
The good things aren't easy,
Mm-hmm.
right? It takes work. So, that's something I wanted to ask you. Oh, so what do you think your best skill is?
My best skill,
Mm-hmm.
I think I have very good skill. I think it's two-prong, because I think they're two different skill sets.
Okay.
I think I'm good at analysis and things of that nature, but
Mhm.
I think also I have my great skill of training and motivating people to find what they want to do, or be great at whatever it is that they want to do. Specifically in real estate. I think I motivate
I feel like
others to do that.
You're taking that from the woman who told you should apply for the controller position.
That's interesting. Maybe we go full circle there, and that
Are you
could
still
be
in
true.
contact with this person?
She's very elderly now, so I haven't seen her in a few years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why do you think that you're the great motovator, especially people? And
I wouldn't say the great motivator.
Yeah.
I would say that, like, if I one-on-one with someone that wants to, that really believes that they want to do, let's say, want to do what I'm doing,
Mhm.
I think I could help them.
Okay,
get
motivate
there.
me. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. It's not that way. Motivate you. What do you? I'll motivate you. What do you want?
No, I want to. I mean, everything that I am doing is in that direction of becoming. I think. I see on that. I'm increasing my basis. Right. I'm already good at analysis, but I might teach in person next March, and I told him the benefit to me is being able to speak better in front of a group and put together better presentations, and with the mindset
That's fabulous.
of syndication.
There's a step.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah. So me, I'm working towards that. I haven't been in real estate for 30 years, which a lot of people have. I've only been in for 8 years. The lights are out again. This is terrible. Thank you. So I'm just trying to build that, as well as build a team around me and communicate as much, like you were saying previously, like letting people know what I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
as well as listening to how they got to where they're at. Because I believe that I'm surrounded by so many good resources.
That's how you motivate, though. Motivating is not about standing there and telling people, oh, you're so fabulous, you're so great. Motivating is just really being able to help people down the path of what it is that they want in their journey, and encouraging and being present and helping. That's what that is.
But as we both know, it comes down to the deal. Like you can do everything that you can to create this nice package.
Oh, that's a different conversation.
But you have to finally roll up your damn
There's no
sleeves,
motivating. There's no
right?
motivating when we're talking about a deal or an investment. We're talking about, like, if we want to, if you want to start doing syndications, and we can talk through how you're going to get, and the steps and what you want to do. That's where I would want to be supportive and motivate someone to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But in reference to looking at
which
a package,
is everything everybody needs. That's why I reached out to you in the first place, because those are. I mean, once you get out the uncertainties,
and
then it's the real work.
And then having someone the touch points so it's not let's sit down for an hour and have a conversation and, like, poof, you're motivated. No, it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's a journey. And But in reference to an opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
there's no motivating. You put it out there, the good and the bad. A good syndicator would put out the good and the bad of the opportunity, because there is no way that every opportunity is 100% solid. And that's, we were having a conversation about what you want to maybe not ask, but pay attention to,
Mm-hmm.
is how your syndicator communicates.
Mm-hmm.
There are bad things in every deal. It's how you navigate those bad things, because there's no deal that's 100% solid.
Mm-hmm.
How you navigate it and how you communicate it to your investors.
Yeah, because no one saw COVID. No one underwrote COVID. No one, I didn't, and I underwrite a ton of deals.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that there was no risk factor for a downturn of, well, here for us, maybe 6 months, 8 months, right? And then pretty much it was open and back to business. But, nobody underwrote that. No one underwrote the spikes from the Feds right now. Everyone thought it was coming,
Right.
but no one thought they were going to come in and give 75 basis points and keep increasing it to where we're at 7% right now.
Yeah. So when those types of things happen,
In 12 months, crazy.
financing related, anything, an unforeseen,
Uncontrollable
an
event.
uncontrollable event, a problem with the asset that, maybe you didn't discover when.
A murder.
How you communicate those, those things is a big window in a syndicator, in my opinion.
Do you now, when you're saying that, I'm thinking of, because there's communication and then there's legality, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are you hand in hand with your lawyer while giving that transparency or communication to your tenants?
No.
No?
I don't ask my lawyer if I could tell.
I was wondering, like,
no. I know you say what it's not. I mean, with your tenants and your investors,
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to replace a roof and there's a delay because there's roof issues, we don't avoid the tenants. We talk to the tenants and we let them know what's happening. Now they're on your team. I can't make it happen any faster because of what's happening. So you try to make things work you communicate with them so that they know exactly what's happening at all times. And you do the same thing with your investors.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need a lawyer to tell them, hey, look, the roof's not going to, we said 30 days and it's going to be 90.
Who's the most important person on your team?
The most important person on my team, I believe everyone on my team serves a really important service, but the most important person in my team is my assistant, which really navigates many of the tenant calls before we have a quality control with how we communicate with our tenants. Mm-hmm. And she handles a lot of the day-to-day. I couldn't do it without her.
How important is it for your spouse to be on board on what you're doing?
It's everything. It's absolutely everything. Everything that I'm doing is greatly due to him encouraging me to make it happen.
Do you think that it's easier for him to encourage you because of what you've done in the past in your career? Like, instead of where you said maybe you could have jumped in and only stayed at the property, the real estate company for 9 years, not 18 years. Do you think because you stayed there at 18 years and was the chairwoman of the bank, does that come into play with him, giving you more encouragement? Could you, or
I don't think it's thought of in that fashion.
I think about it because I'm probably asking the same question for myself.
Like, it's
right? Because I haven't had the 18 years career and stuff like that. So I wonder about my spouse and the encouragement. Is there more like reluctancy of someone trying to really give you the green light because they don't know? It's kind of like the track record.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
like your track record's pretty darn good.
The timing was it was right. So it's almost, I would say, I didn't have the benefit of having that discussion, which you have the benefit of considering, because it wasn't something we considered. When we considered it, we said, let's do this. And he says, you can do this. There's no reason why you shouldn't. Go make it happen. And so there was no, well, would we have done this? Would we not? No, my story is I wish I would have, but if I would have, we don't know how it would have turned out. So we're here today, and I accept the journey that I was on, the path that I was on, and I'm living my best life today. So I would say to you, you have the benefit of less time, and even considering this opportunity.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm
the 9-year person.
You're the 9-year person. You're considering the opportunity. So what a fabulous thing to have the opportunity to consider, because now you can consider it year 9, year 10, year 11, year 12. You can consider it because you have it in your thinking. I didn't have it in my thinking.
Wow, you just put that in my thinking. Because now, I wasn't piecing that together like that. Interesting. Wow.
Good.
Yeah, no, it's great, right? And that's why I love sitting down with people and listening to them and letting them share. You never know. You never know where the knowledge comes from. You never know what's going to really stir something up inside of you, and how you're able to take that conversation and, obviously I'm going to talk to my assistant about, speaking with you, and then he speaks with his girlfriend about it. And it's just like great. I mean, and all the students watch the videos and take what they can out of it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you sitting down. And so are you on social media? If people want to get a hold of you, or are you on social media?
Yeah.
Or?
So I'm on Instagram, Nat Falconi. I post all kind of different things on there. And then I'm on Twitter as well. I spend more time there talking to the real estate crew, people. So
tell me about Twitter, because I have
Nat
Twitter.
Falconi there as well.
So I'll have to follow you there. I haven't gotten into Twitter. I mean, I wasn't into Twitter either. And then I went to this conference in Austin, and everybody was on Twitter. And I'm like, well, what does everybody talk about? Yeah.
So what is real estate? Like, I mean, there's some funny things that go on, but like just real estate. Well, I just saw this 50-unit deal, and this is what it looks like. Or look at what's happening with financing. Or look at it could be anything. Oh, I got 2 tenants. I don't know. You're gonna have to go look. I follow a lot of different people. I meet a lot of ladies in real estate, a lot of guys in real estate, shopping centers, industrial, multifamily, because you can learn from all the different asset classes.
Yeah, that's just one.
Beth is on there.
Yeah, I definitely want to be more engaged in, I just want to see the right conversations, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of different narrative going on.
Yeah.
On the whole Twitter.
And then you can like follow the hashtag retweet. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Like Twitter, real estate Twitter.
Oh, okay.
And then you can do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just something I haven't. So you're on Twitter with that.
Twitter.
And it's all under
Nat Falconi. N-A-T Falconi. And
so your friends call you Nat?
Some call me Nat. Yeah. Some call me Natasha.
Yeah. What about LinkedIn?
I'm on LinkedIn as well.
And your website for your company?
Yeah, my website for my company, falconi-capital.com. And actually, I have a 5-step process on considering investing in multifamily there. So if anyone...
On the website?
Yeah, like if you sign up, you can get the free... PDF that explains like my thoughts on investing in multifamily and what to consider when investing in multifamily.
Oh, I'm going to have to check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
Well, thank you again so much for coming in. It was wonderful sitting down with you. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much for inviting me. This was a great conversation, and it's great to know you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to my conversation with Natasha Falconi. To support the podcast, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. I now leave you with some words by Natasha herself. Always have skin in the game. So when we win together. Until next time, I'm David Maggard.